Breaker Crunchers, welcome to a very special episode of the Couch Crunchers podcast, the only show where we don't wonder what about me and Pippi Longstocking because we know what the children would look like. They're cute, but they need braces. I am joined by one of the most prolific voice actors in history, a man who spent many years convincing children that New York City sewers are a cool place to hang out. Here to answer for his crimes, Mr. Rob Paulsen. Mr. Paulsen, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Well, you're absolutely right, because Pippi Longstocking and Pinky did, in fact, bear children. And thank God for the reboot, because that's the only way I can afford braces. Because when you look at, I mean, seriously, with my severe maxillar occlusion, and then you throw Pippi into the mix, it's a little, DNA stands for disgustingly, unnatural abnormality. Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you. Thanks very much. What a wonderful introduction. I very much appreciate that. And yeah, sewers, they ain't so bad. No shit. Really nice. I'm sorry. I couldn't read.
It's okay. This is a PG-13 show.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, no, it was great. Honestly, I'm very flattered, and we can just stop right there because you made me feel like a big star.
Oh, well, you have played a big role in my life. I remember as a kid watching all of the cartoons. There were two names that came up in every set of credits. There was Jim Cummings and Rob Paulsen.
Oh, wow. I'll take that company anytime. Have you talked to Jim?
I have not. No.
Oh, you got to. I'm small potatoes. When it comes to Jimmy, he's, Darkwing Duck and Winnie the Pooh and the Tasmanian Devil and, Ray the Firefly from The Prince and the Frog or Princess and the whatever. Yeah, Jimmy's the real deal. A good boy from Youngstown, Ohio, and insanely gifted, but his talent really is only eclipsed by his kindness. He's a delightful man.
Well, that's very nice. But I want to talk about you, sir. So,
okay.
Before we get into the discussion, I was just wondering if you have picked up any new hobbies, any new talents, or any new interests since COVID came and rearranged everything.
Since COVID-Con 2020?
Yeah.
No. I haven't picked up, mostly what I haven't picked up is COVID, which is excellent. You know what really is kind of cool is I went to work yesterday and a week before for the first time in the studio since March. And I've been working a lot from home, which is wonderful because, as you know, sadly, there are so many people who have regular jobs and they can't go to them. And if you're not able to telecommute, then you're in trouble. I am able to record with the broadcast quality as a result of all this wonderful technology from home. But I'm an old dog, man, and I love being at the studio. I'm way better when I'm surrounded by people like Jim or Tress MacNeille or whomever, and the writers and the people like that. That still is not the case. I was recording yesterday for the new Pinky and the Brain. And I was by myself, save for a recording engineer. But I really was glad to be there. So I have not picked up anything new except becoming more proficient at recording from home and taking my 11-year-old Rob Pillow Fort building skills to a far higher level.
Yeah, that's right. You've now got your wallet behind you. You've got years of experience. You could probably buy all the couch cushions you need. I
am so good at finding a way to take ordinary cushions and turning them into a world-class recording studio. And it's kind of funny because it's an obvious question for this day and age and for what we do, and especially with respect to recording from home. A lot of people in Hollywood have world-class recording facilities. You don't need 10,000 square feet. You can do it literally in a big closet from which I've come out of, but that's a wholly different story. Just kidding. No, I purposely chose never to have a recording studio at home. I'm not really a promo guy. I've done a ton of commercials years ago, but I'm an actor and a singer, and I relish being with the other actors and the singers and the musicians and the writers. They're all so, pardon me, goddamn talented. And I live that axiom that a high tide raises all boats.
Oh yeah.
every recording session. I'm Rob Paulsen, the guy that you want to talk to as a result of my career, precisely because of all those people. Really, it's not hyperbole. I'm good at my job, but these people make me way better. So um, I purposely chose not to have a fancy schmancy recording studio because I wanted to go to work. Now I'm forced to, but it really doesn't require uh, as much as I would like it to be now. I would like to be able to snap my fingers and say, "Oh, a refrigerator, and chill, and TV screen, and blah blah blah." It ain't. I get a bunch of pillows and get a really good mic, shove it in there, and put something behind my head, and raise the curtain, and say, "How was that?" You know. But otherwise, that was a very long-winded, typical of a voice actor answer to your very simple question.
Well, no, that's great. That's what I'm looking for. Speaking of recording and singing, what was the last song that you sang?
The last song I sang was a new song for Animaniacs, which is really good. And by the way, they're going to announce soon when the shows will start premiering on Hulu. That is, Hulu and Warner Brothers, I presume, will have a joint announcement. But you know what? This is a big deal. I
Yeah.
I know it sounds silly. It's a big deal to me because it's, I get to work and I get to work with these people and have a reason for nice people like you to talk to me. But I'm telling you what, man, this is really a big deal for the general population of people who consume entertainment. I have to say, I've always known that Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain, due in no small part to the music, have made a huge impact on audiences because I have the great good fortune of doing what we're doing now often. And before COVID Con, I used to do, I don't know, between Animaniacs and concert and live signing events, I do, I don't know, 20 dates a year, public speaking and stuff like that. People love Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain. I mean, it really goes beyond, oh, that was kind of cute. They go, oh no, dude, you have no idea. That happens all the time. And now, with this, the zeitgeist and even more sacred cows to lampoon, and the composers who were inspired by Randy Rogel, who wrote United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, and all that other stuff, right?
Yeah. Still a toe tapper.
Totally. And literally has become a seminal piece of American animated art. It's a 2.5 minute remarkable cartoon. And so I sang a song written by a couple of young guys from Scotland who were inspired by Randy. And you know what's really, really cool is I was recording solo, and Randy Rogel joined the Zoom link while I was still working with the two kids from Scotland on their song. And when the two kids from Scotland found out that Randy was on the Zoom link, I mean, they almost got tearful. It was like, oh my God, oh my God. Oh, I mean, if they could genuflect on Zoom, but that's what makes, I got the best seat in the house for that because,
Oh
I live in Hollywood, man. You can throw a dart and hit a good singer. What you can't do is throw a dart and hit somebody who can write that shit.
yeah.
And Randy, he was on the Zoom link because he had another song for the new. I love to see the extent to which people, very gifted artistic people, were inspired and are now in their positions because of what Randy and Steven Spielberg and Tom Ruegger and Sherry Stoner and Deanna Oliver, all these great writers, what they did 25 years ago have inspired a whole new generation of people. And they look at Animaniacs as their bar. I want to do that.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, what an incredible pleasure to be able to see that. It's the best.
That's great. Now I notice you're wearing your Michigan hat.
Yeah.
So you're from Michigan, and great state. Spent 3 days at a summer camp in
One
Michigan.
night. I spent a week there one night.
I was one of the leaders there, and the camp counselors refused to let me participate in any of the fun activities. So I got to look at a lake, I got to look at the trees, but I was not allowed to touch.
Oh my God.
So when you're back in Michigan, what's your favorite place to eat?
Place to eat?
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, it depends on which city I'm in. I was born in Detroit, and there are a billion great Greek restaurants, especially in Detroit. There's a huge Greek population. I love Greek food. Honestly, I don't remember if any of the Greek restaurants. Oh, and also Coney's. There in Detroit is very famous for Hires root beer and Faygo Red Pop
Oh
and
yeah.
Rock and Rye and what else? Stroh's beer and Coney Bucks. But I grew up in Grand Blanc, Michigan, just south. Well, Rochester, Detroit, and Grand Blanc, just south of Flint. And my favorite restaurant actually is a chicken place on the way up north. That is up north, the lower peninsula up north, called Zender's in a little town called Frankenmuth. And they have the best fried chicken I've ever had in my life. And I have to say, thank you for asking about Michigan. I am a very proud adopted son of the state of California, and I've been here for 42 years. And this state has given me, I mean, has been the golden state for me. But I am pure Michigan. I mean, I really am. It is a marvelous state. I know there's a lot to be said in the area for which we grow up, and you want to, even though, regardless of what Thomas Wolfe says, we all do try to go home again, But it is a really, truly a remarkable state. Not unlike California in that it doesn't have the mountains and the ocean, but man, when you're standing on Lake Michigan, or really Lake Superior, it might as well be the ocean. And when it gets to blowing and raining and snowing up there, it rivals anything we see up here in the Sierras in terms of powerful winters. But it's just a great place. And there's something to be said, I think, for a lot of us from that area. Dave Coulier is a good pal. He's from Detroit. Another hockey player, Jimmy, as I mentioned, is from Youngstown. That whole Nancy Cartwright, our buddy, who's Bart Simpson, is from Dayton, Ohio. There's something to be said. Timmy Allen's another Detroiter. There are nice people from everywhere, but I choose to believe that there's something in the water about that Midwestern work ethic,
Yeah,
and,
for
sure. But anyway, where did you go to your camp in Michigan?
It was called Camp Tamarack. I don't know exactly where it was. I didn't drive there, but it was in the woods next to a lake. There's like a million lakes in Michigan. So
it was called the Great Lakes State, for a pretty good reason. And yes, there are a zillion inland lakes.
Yeah.
And so if you say, I was on, that's great. I don't know, man. I was in the woods by a lake. And all I remember, Judge, is the following, that kind of stuff. So I totally get what you mean.
That's funny. I mean, you mentioned Frankenmuth. I used to work for a judge who was from Frankenmuth.
Oh,
and
are you an attorney?
Yeah, I'm an attorney.
Oh, cool.
I worked for him, and he was a big Detroit Tigers fan, and he would always rub it in my face if the Tigers.
Did you grow up in Michigan? I mean, did you go up down? Where did you?
No, so I went to law school at Valparaiso, Indiana.
Oh, in Indiana, okay.
So just at the southern tip of Lake Michigan.
Right. My dad went to a military school in Howe, Indiana, just across the Michigan border. I think by Niles, Michigan, if I'm not mistaken, southwest corner of the state. So did you grow up in Indiana?
No, I'm from Arizona. I did law school in Indiana. After I graduated law school, I worked for 2 years in South Bend at the federal court.
And so now you're back in AZ.
Back in AZ, keeping warm. I remember my wife and I, we had our first winter in Indiana, and just big ice storm just came and hit us. And the brake lines on my car froze solid, and they caused it to pop. The brake lines just exploded.
Yeah, it's never had that. Is your wife from Arizona? She's from
Kansas. And then she transplanted here, and she said, "I'm never going to."
Yeah, because I mean, there's nothing. Kansas is kind of like Manitoba South. That is to say, there ain't nothing stopping the wind up there, man. Or in Kansas, when it blows, holy crap! I used to play hockey up in, across Canada, and I remember saying to myself, "My God, there literally is nothing between like Winnipeg and Regina, Saskatchewan, the capital of the province. There's nothing there." And a buddy of mine Jerry Hauser, wonderful actor and a hockey player, he played Killer Carlson in Slapshot, and we were up there playing in a charity hockey game, and he said, "God damn it, is it flat up here? You can see your dog run away for 2 weeks." And it is. It's like nothing, like the occasional grain elevator, and that's like it is in Kansas. And man, when it blows down there and it's winter, forget it. It's impossibly cold.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned hockey. I know you're a big fan of the game. You played a lot.
Yeah.
You
My
more
nose,
of
my proboscis is more prodigious now as a result of 2 different times being broken. So yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh,
Well, are
yeah.
you more of an Iserman or a Howe?
How? And I've been around. I'm older, and I'm a how guy. And Steve Eiserman would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Gordy is my hero. In fact, part of my email address is Red Wing. It has number 9 in it, and I won't go too long, but Gordie Howe went from being my idol, on ice idol as a child, to my grown up hero, because I had the great good fortune of getting to know Mr. and Mrs. Howe as a result of playing charity hockey games. And his grandkids were big Ninja Turtle fans. And so the first, oh God, it still gives me goosebumps. The first time I met him, I got the call that we were going to play against the Red Wing Old Timers at the Joe. 1991, Gordy was probably 63, 64 years old. And I'm sitting in the locker room next to Coulier, putting my skates on to go out on the Joe Louis ice for practice, losing my mind. And Mr. Hockey, the great man, walks in the room. He goes, "Which one of you guys is the Ninja Turtle?" And all these, celebrities, Richard Dean Anderson, Alan Thicke, Coulier, Jason Priestley. These guys are all on-camera guys. But I was there because I could play hockey. And of course, all the charities for which we played were geared around children. So I was helpful. And the first guy the great man himself asks for is the Ninja Turtle. So they're looking at me like this. And I said, that's me, Mr. Howe. He goes, "Oh, my grandkids there, they love that goddamn show. I bought so many of those goddamn Ninja Turtles, eh? So great, nice meeting you." Oh my God. And then, so we play the hockey game, and I'm a left winger. So Gordy was playing opposite me. And in the middle was Alex Del Vecchio. And to his left was Ted Lindsay. All these guys that are, Mr. Lindsay just passed away, I think, last year at 95. Gordy died 4 years ago at 88. But nonetheless, it was unbelievable. My parents came down. They had retired to northern Michigan, sitting at the glass. I'm taking a face-off across from Gordy on the Red Wing, on the winged wheel. Puck drops, shoot it into our zone. We start going back to get set up to break out. Gordy trips me and puts his stick across my chest and looks at me. And he says, "You effing turtles aren't so tough." And that's exactly what I did. And I have a photograph of it still. And all you can see is me laughing with Gordy sitting on me. And I thought, God, if he could cut me, if he could just go real quick and give me 4 or 5 stitches. But man, I'll go on way, way, way too long. But in my view, you can never go too long, because in a nutshell, what Mr. Howe, and I was lucky enough to get to call him Gordy, and both he and Colleen, Mrs. Howe, really treated me like family. And we did so many children's charity events together. And I have to share this with you and your audience, because we all know, and I'm sure you've talked to them, we all know stories about how great men and women behave and how they move through their lives with grace, style. They suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, all of that stuff. But there's a reason that great people are great people. And Mr. Howe exemplified that literally in 5 seconds, when he went from my idol to my hero in the following way. Gordy and Colleen had invited me to a charity softball game in Vancouver. And I was up there signing autographs. It was June years ago, and signing Pinky in the Rain, Ninja Turtle, sitting next to, "Come on, you sit here, youngster." And I'm like, Okay, Gord, sitting next to him. And that happened all the time. Hospital visits, all that stuff. Young man comes up after being in line for an hour. And Gordy signs a puck. He's probably 65 at the time. And the young man says, "Thank you so much, Mr. Howe. Really, thank you." You're shaking, as my father did when he met him, shaking. And "Thank you for signing my puck, Mr. Howe. Your hand must be getting tired." And you know that Gordy put down his Sharpie and he looked that young man right in the eye, as sober as a judge. And he said, "It's my pleasure, son. I've worked too hard for this privilege." And I'll never forget it. I was this far away when I saw it and heard it. And I have stolen that line myself because people are very kind, just like yourself. They're very deferential. I have developed a relative amount of celebrity doing something I would do for free. And then nice people like you take the time out of their day. And other people, when I go meet them, sometimes fly or drive or whatever, and they find a reason to spend money or just to come meet Pinky or Yakko or Raphael or Donatello or whatever. And the stories I hear about how deeply these characters connect with people on a profound level is not only humbling, but I've taken that. I know exactly what Mr. Howe means. It is an utter privilege to be in a position in which people celebrate you doing something you're really good at, but that you do for free. You know what I mean? And that's exactly how Gordy lived his life. And to see how he, Steven Spielberg, other people who are the best of the best and continue to deliver for decade after decade after decade after decade, they move through their life making it about other people and understanding that they're utterly privileged. And now I am not at that level, but I am utterly a living example of I've worked really hard for the place in which I find myself. And it is, to be sure, a total privilege. So keep asking me about Gordy, and I'll talk to you at Christmas.
Well, I did want to know if you've ever lost any teeth on the ice, because I know you talk about dental insurance a lot.
I did. I didn't lose them. They were on the ice. I found them. In fact, I'm going to lie to you. I got these chiclets best money can buy. I had a kid. He was so good. I had a sweet kid once doing I was doing a live interview, and there was a young man standing behind the person interviewing me. And he goes, "Man, you've got a great smile." I said, "Best money can buy." I got my but yeah, in fact, it was high school. I got drilled, and I don't know if you ever had that happen. It doesn't hurt right away. It's usually when you get dinged like that, or it wasn't a fight. I hit it with a puck or something. A couple of them got knocked out. And luckily they got knocked out. They didn't get broken. So it was a little messy, but the referee says, "Are these yours?"
You dropped something.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I think they are. Thanks very much." So they wired them back into my head. That was, years ago. But oh God, yeah, all that stuff happens. Night before, young defenseman on, they're playing the Stanley Cup playoffs now, which is a little surreal to watch it with nobody in the audience. But nonetheless, being a big hockey fan, forgot the name. Plays defense for Winnipeg. Fortunately, not here, but oh my God, you can find him online. I forgot his last name, but oh brother, yeah, I'm partial to hockey because I played it, and I love all sports. But I got to tell you, when I hear a $20 million a year, 22-year-old right fielder with a hangnail who goes on the DL for two weeks, and then I watch a guy take one right in the mush in the first period, goes off for the second period, they pack him, shoot him, and then he's back out.
Back out on the ice, yeah.
Wait a minute. Come on, man. Go put your baseball glove on. tape up your finger and throw the freaking ball. These boys are, anyway. So yeah, I really love hockey, but all sports. I love baseball, football. You mentioned Turtles. I sang the national anthem at Dodger Stadium about a year ago, and it was so precious. I got done singing it. Tapping my shoulder, I turn around. It's Justin Turner.
Oh, wow.
Celebrity, all-star, $30 million, zillion dollar, $20 million, whatever, third baseman.
Yeah.
And he's a Ninja Turtle freak. And so we were chatting. He was just as nice as he. I signed him a picture, and his wife was tearful because she said, "Oh my, he's got every action there at home." And if you look it up online, when the Dodgers won the World Series a couple years ago, somebody turned me on to this. He got a hold of Adidas, and they made him some Ninja Turtle cleats for the World Series.
Oh, that's amazing.
And he wore his TMNT T-shirt under his Dodgers jersey. So I've got this great shot of, this skinny old man after singing the national anthem talking to this 32-year-old little boy, because I was doing Raphael for him. It's the greatest thing, man. It never fails to amaze me. But honestly, as soon as I do this, look what happens to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I freaking love it.
I just go, "Hey, God, Nerf," and you can't help it. It's look at you.
Oh, I love it.
I do too. And that, obviously, I'm aptly named with respect to my career. I haven't shut up since we've been talking, but you get my point. Gordie Howe's grandkids, Justin Turner, you, me, whatever. It's not about me. You're celebrating me, and I appreciate that. But it's about the characters. And man, I don't draw them and I don't write them, but I don't care where I am. Someday I hope to have the opportunity to buy you you and your wife dinner. And I don't care where we are. When the people find out who the old guy at the table is, they do just what you do. They smile. They get excited. They say, "Oh my God, bring the wait staff. Oh my God, let me go get the cook. Oh my God, over where he keeps his pots and pans, he's got a pinky in the brain. You won't believe." And it happens every day. And I talk about a privilege. It's just, I can't say enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just it's the best.
That reminds me of a little thing I came across online. It was this little joke, and it said, the stages of life are: you believe in Santa, you don't believe in Santa, you are Santa, you look like Santa.
That's
and
right.
At first, it just seems kind of, very, very funny. But there's something profound there when you become Santa, and you're basically giving yourself, not because of any glory or fame or fortune it's going to give you, because it's a thing that you got to do. And I would say you're probably in the phase of life where you're inspiring others to take on that kind of chase to do what's right because it's right. So I think you're probably looking like Santa these days.
Well, I'll tell you what. Thank you. I certainly have his hair. At least it's mine. But thank you. I certainly would like to think so. I truly am. Gratitude doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. The position in which I find myself now is really the best time of my life. Every time, it turns out, can be the best time of your life. When your child's born, you get married, when you get divorced sometimes. But my son is healthy, married and grown, happy. My wife is healthy. I'm pretty healthy. My busted nose and giant chicklets notwithstanding. But you're correct. If we had the time, I could tell you story after story after story after story, some of which are as recent as last week, that go back 25 years, where I will learn things about empathy, courage, kindness, gentleness, and they come, like love, from the most unexpected places, often in the guise of these cartoon characters.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I never took this for granted. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest gig in the world," because I just love to work. I came to LA ostensibly to do live action and music, and that's what I was doing. And then the opportunity came to do animation, and I just jumped on it because everybody loves cartoons. I wanted to work. But I'm glad my career went this way, because though my fame is tangential, that is never what forced me to jump my little Honda and drive from Flint to LA 42 years ago. It was the desire to work and be creative and find a way to, do this. And so I have really reached a point in my life where I'm now getting a little bit more famous, but the fame is as a result of doing something that has made hundreds of millions of people so happy. And I'm only part of it. It's a deeply collaborative medium, as you can imagine. I always, like I said, I don't draw them and I don't write them, but I'm the point person. And man, I mean, every day something happens where somebody laughs out loud because they find out who I am. And it's happening more and more because they recognize me physically, but the deeper things, the autistic kids, the children with cancer who have ultimately not made it, and their parents continue to keep in touch with me, and send me things all the time. This is my little boy, Brian. This is when you were talking to him and as Raphael in 1992, and sadly we lost him in Afghanistan. But you know that he had his Ninja Turtle DVDs with him because that's what made him connect to home. Are you kidding me? And forgive me, but that shit happens every day.
Wow.
When it happens like that, it's impossible for me to quantify what that means. It's so much bigger than a paycheck or an action figure. Look, I've been rich and I've been poor, and rich is way better. But those moments where I literally get to say, I've worked really hard for this privilege, are what exactly what this is about. And you nailed it. By the way, there's a spinoff of that Santa Claus thing that we use in LA. It's who's Rob Paulsen? Get me Rob Paulsen. Get me a Rob Paulsen type. Get me a younger Rob Paulsen. Who's Rob Paulsen? I'm right now, I think, at least in my realm, I'm kind of at the get me Rob Paulsen point, which is great because I've got a couple more years where, because Animaniacs and all that stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, let's hire Rob Paulsen. He's really good. We'll get him. A couple of years, it'll be, Rob's getting a little long in the tooth. The fact that they're his, not even his, notwithstanding. So then it'll be, who's Rob Paulsen? I think I know that name, but anyway, I don't care, man. Right now, today, everything's all right. Everybody's okay. And that's what
wonderful. There's one more thing I want to talk about voice acting, and that is Mighty Max.
Oh my God.
I loved
favorite show.
I loved Mighty Max. I loved it. I was so confused by the finale.
I know. Well, you know what? That show was pretty dark.
It was really dark.
Intense. And everybody knew it. When we were making it, I remember saying, because my son was probably 10 at the time. He's 35. And he loved that show. Great cast. Tim Curry. God, I got to sit next to Tim Curry for 2 or 3 years every day or every week. We became very close. Richard Mall from Night Court and the late great Tony Jazz. But the guy, he trips, look at Tim, and I say, God, this is intense, man.
Yeah.
The animation was cool. It had that thick black line around all the animated characters. And now when I meet people like you, often they'll come up with when I'm wearing a Michigan hat, they're like, oh my God, Mighty Max. I'm like, well,
Mighty
no,
Max.
this is about Michigan, but they love that show. And I really believe it probably wouldn't be with me, but that's a show that could really look at a reboot. It's very, very smart. And with the technology available today, they could do some really badass things animation-wise. But thank you. I thought that show was excellent.
Excellent. What I find really interesting about it is that you, like you said, you worked with Tim Curry, and you did a lot for pro sewer living. And he came back with Pennywise and scared us all back out of the
Yeah.
series.
Wow. 6 degrees, man.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. And
It's
by
all
the way,
connected.
there's another one. Tim Curry, as you probably know, he had a pretty major stroke a few years ago.
Yeah.
Talk about a badass. Man, they'll find a way to get him to autograph events. And I so admire Val Kilmer's another one. Val, I had throat cancer a couple of years ago. I'm okay. Val had to have some surgery, which was difficult. But those guys were movie stars, man. And they're both still really talented, delightful men. But in my case, nobody gives a shit what I look like. Sometimes my wife, maybe, but for those guys, it was all about their skill and their talent, but their visage, And I got to say, Tim was is more of a character actor, but in both cases, they are so grateful to be able to meet people and share what you are sharing with me right now. And I really have a lot of respect for obvious reasons, because they don't let their humanity get in the way of their celebrity. Tim had a gnarly stroke, and it has left him partially, I think, paralyzed a little bit. But man, he is out there and he meets people and talks, and he's great. Val, he was really a big, freaking handsome movie star. Mm-hmm. Batman, Jim Morrison, Tombstone, on and on and on.
Top Secret.
Top Gun, Top Secret, yeah. And very handsome, very handsome. And God bless him. He is out there going to conventions when they're up and meeting people. He, wears the thing to cover his, where his trach operate, but he's joking. He doesn't try to hide it. It's his vanity is probably more in check than mine. That's courage, because they're willing to go to whatever it takes to do exactly what Mr. Howe did. Go out there and meet the people who put him in that position, even though it's not just getting a little older. They took some serious hits. Yeah. And they know people are going to go home going, I'm so glad I got Val's autograph, but wow, he really doesn't. God bless him. Those people are really brave, remarkable.
Yeah, so that brings us to your recent alliance or joining with the Head and Neck Cancer Alliance.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Oh my goodness. Well, as I referenced, I had 4 years ago at this time, I was just finishing up 7 weeks of daily radiation and a bunch of chemotherapy because I got throat cancer. What's that old axiom? We make plans and God laughs.
All right.
As if my ego, if you allow me, my ego, the room to assume that God one day thought, I know how I'm going to mess with Rob Paulsen. That's how big a star I am, right? So, it's not like foot cancer or finger cancer. It's throat cancer.
Yeah.
But I'm fine. However, I should say, but I'm fine. And I had an interview with our buddy, Dr. Drew Pinsky, a while back, and we were talking about how my remarks and my reaction to my throat cancer is that it has been not a silver lining for me. It's a platinum lining. Mm-hmm. And he said, I've heard other people talk about the gift of cancer. And he said, I think you understand what I mean. I said, Drew, I know exactly what you mean. My diagnosis came around, and the first thing the doctors told me was, firstly, this is sadly ubiquitous, but fortunately very treatable cancer. That is the same cancer Jim Kelly has. Now his is gone again. Michael Douglas, myself, James Worthy, Roger Ebert, bless his heart. And it's an HPV-related cancer for which there are now Gardasil, which was very helpful in young women, preventing them from getting HPV-related cervical cancer. That same virus has now surpassed cervical cancer in men and women in the head and neck realm.
Mm.
So that's what I had. And they told me, here's the deal. We're virtually sure we can cure you. Not remission, cure. But before we do, we almost have to kill you. And they do. It's brutal for obvious reasons. Drinking, smooching people you love, and talking and swallowing and eating. It was brutal. But they were right. They cured me. Then, platinum lining. I don't know how it happened, probably as a result of someone like you letting me talk about it. And I wrote a book. My partner and I, Mike Fleeman, wrote a book called Voice Lessons, how a couple of Ninja Turtles, an Animaniac, and Pinky saved my life. And that is not hyperbole. But the book has become pretty popular in the Comic-Con, all my buddies in that realm. And lo and behold, somebody from the Head and Neck Cancer Alliance made some overtures to my publicist and said, do you think Rob would be interested in talking about his cancer, on behalf of, and I couldn't say yes fast enough. I could not say yes fast enough. And they were thinking what I was thinking, which was they were pondering what I'm pondering, if you will, which is, look, you make your living with your voice. And everybody now who is your age,
right,
older, and even younger, knows almost everything, or at least something that I have worked on with my voice. And to the extent that people can become inspired by a guy who makes his living with his voice, who got throat cancer but got through it and is back to working in Hollywood at the highest level, that's a good story.
Absolutely.
And it is a good story. For exactly the reasons you would think. So, man, I love it. In fact, this week, oddly enough, is HPV vaccination week because Gardasil has now been approved for use in young boys. I think it's between 12 and 20 for the prevention of the very cancer that killed Roger Ebert and almost killed Jim Kelly. And, he can throw a football, but man, when you talk to him about his passion and I would think I am to prevent it and to deal with it and to be an inspiration. Football schmutball, he's a badass, an incredible man. And he held this position I'm the official spokestune for the Head and Neck Cancer Alliance for 2020, and Jim Kelly had this position before me. So I'm in really great company. But people can learn a lot about prevention and dealing with head and neck cancer because, as I said, sadly, it is quite ubiquitous, but it's very treatable if you catch it early. And they can go to HPV and Me, which will talk about the Gardasil vaccine, and it's very safe. It's effective for 6 different types of HPV-related head and neck cancers. Mine was at the base of my tongue and my throat, very deep, and it had spread to a lymph node, and it was stage 3, which is why I caught it, because it was I had a swollen lymph node. But they can also go to headandneck.org, which is the Head and Neck Cancer Alliance, and you'll see yours truly's ugly mug there talking about it. But there's a whole lot of info. So hpvandme.org and headandneck.org.
All right.
So thank you for letting me chat about it.
No, thank you for coming on the show, and I hope you'll take us out with a bit of Pinky.
Oh, I'd be happy to. What would you like me to say? I got one.
Okay. I just want to know if you're pondering what I'm pondering.
Yeah, you need to ask me. Say again. Say, Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering? I got a couple of new ones, so go ahead.
All right, let me see if I can get it. Okay.
Oh yeah, I got you. You've got an excellent brain forehead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
Here we go. Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, but if Jack's black and Betty's white, is Marvin gay? No. Okay, here's another one. Ask me again.
All right. Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
Well, I think so, but if Ann B. Davis and Susan B. Anthony, who'd be Arthur? No.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Oh,
Paulsen.
my God, are you kidding me? That beautiful pink laughing face of yours. I could smooch it. It's just so precious. That's worth everything. Honest to God, and I'm going to say it again, and thank you, Mr. Hockey. I have worked too hard for this privilege, and that's exactly what it is, man. So thank you very much for taking your time today. It's been a joy.
Oh, thank you, sir. I do, before we close, they did tell me initially that I was going to be interviewing Rob Lowe, and and then when I found out it was you, I really started to sweat. I was like, "You're kidding me! Raphael is going to be on the show."
I'm going to use that. I'm going to say, dude, I had this great. He's like, oh my God, I got it, Rob Lowe. Then it was me, and he got excited. I'm going to find someday I'm going to meet Rob Lowe because he's entirely too handsome. I just want to hit him because, I just want to say, would you leave some for the rest of us? My God, you're handsome, you're wealthy, everybody loves you. And I got a couple of those, but I have a couple people who love me personally. But you know what? I could make the argument that there are places in the world where you and I could go, and they might say, Rob Lowe, but you say Raphael or Donatello or Pinky, and they go, are you kidding me? Sure, let me show you. Rip, here's my T-shirt. So I'll take it.
Yeah,
thank you very much. You made my day.
Very good. Well, thank you again. And I hope we get the chance to chat another time, but really appreciate you taking the time, Mr. Paulsen. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. And you get free tickets to the Water Tower, you and your wife, for the rest of your life. Unless, of course, you're arrested getting on the lot, in which case you're on your own.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take care, man. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Chief, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Grade A buffoonery.